Okay, welcome in one and all. I'm now going to be reviewing all of Saturday's action from the NHL. There were 14 games on tap, so therefore 28 teams took to the ice looking for 2 points, respectively. Starting with an all-Canadian matchup as my beloved Montreal Canadiens, who are still rebuilding and who knows how their future is going to go, played their first game without their head coach, Marty St. Louis. He has stepped away due to personal reasons. I'm hoping all the best for him, so we'll see what comes out of that outcome. So the Montreal Canadiens are on their Western road trip, and they started off things in Calgary to take on the Flames. In the first, Backlund would open up the scoring with 3 minutes and 37 seconds to go, a power play goal, his 14th of the year, assisted by Uyghur and Majapani. He would then strike again in the second period, getting his 15th of the year from Coleman and Uyghur just 11 seconds in that second period, making it 2-0 in favor of the Flames. Pospisil would increase the lead to 3-0, 7 minutes and 41 seconds into that frame. For him, that'd be his 7th of the year, assisted by Huberdeau and Nazem Kadri. Cole Caulfield would finally get on the goal score sheet for the Montreal Canadiens over halfway through that period, getting his 20th goal of the year from Suzuki and Slavkovsky. David Savard would cut the deficit to 3-2 with 1 minute and 35 seconds to go in the period. For Savard, that'd be his 6th goal of the year, assisted by Pearson and Harvey Pinard. So after 40 minutes of play, the Flames had a 3-2 lead. Nazem Kadri would increase the lead to 4-2, doubling up the lead at that point. For Kadri, that'll be his 23rd goal of the year, assisted by Huberdeau and Sharon Govish, a power play goal to note. Miramonov would get his 2nd goal of the season, increasing the lead to 5-2, assisted by Uyghur and Backlund, 3 minutes and 54 seconds into the period. So 5-2 is where we would stand at the end of regulation. With the victory, the Flames are 33, 29, and 5, still on the outside looking in when it comes to the playoffs. And let's be honest, with less than 20 games to go in the season, it's looking very bleak for them to make a postseason appearance. But crazier things have happened. As for the Habs, 25, 31, and 11 is where they stand at the end of this match. Alrighty, the next matchup took place in Detroit. We had the Red Wings playing host to the Buffalo Sabres. Not gonna lie to you, it was looking a little bleak at one point for the Red Wings as I think they lost like 6 in a row at one point, but they finally bounced back. They won their previous game, and in this game they're looking to make it 2 in a row. So Tage Thompson would kick things off for the Sabres in the first period, nodding his 20th goal of the year from Rasmus Dahlin and Alex Tuch, a power play goal with 8 minutes and 38 seconds to go on the clock. In the second period, Fisher would tie the game up at 1, getting his 3rd goal of the year from Kopp and Sider, 5 minutes and 35 seconds in that period. Patrick Kane would give them a 2-1 lead with 2 minutes and 20 seconds to go. For Kane, that'd be his 14th goal of the year, assisted by Kopfer and Shane Gothisber. After 40 minutes of play, the Red Wings had a 2-1 lead. In the third period, Daniel Sprong would increase the lead to 3-1. For Sprong, that would be his 17th goal of the season, assisted by Fabry. And that goal happened with 6 minutes and 8 seconds to go on the clock. And then with just 1 minute and 7 seconds remaining, Raymond would increase the lead to 4-1. For him, that'd be his 20th goal of the season from Rasmussen and Andrew Cobb. So 4-1 would be the final score in favor of the Red Wings. With the victory, the Red Wings have now won 2 in a row. They're sitting at 33, 28, and 6. They're just on the outskirts of the playoffs, and I'm sure they'll be looking to make a push this late in the season. As for the Sabres, they're 32, 31, and 5. They're not technically eliminated, but they are still a few points back of the wild card spot, so we'll see how the season finishes for Buffalo. Alrighty, now we're off to New York, where we have the Islanders. They're playing host to the Ottawa Senators. Alrighty, let's take a look and see how this game went. So in the first, Matt Martin would get his 3rd goal of the year, making it 1-0 at that point in favor of the Islanders, assisted by Clutterbuck and McLean. In the second period, Brickachuk would tie the game up at 1, getting his 28th goal of the year from Batherson and Bramstrom. And that goal happened with 8 minutes and 14 seconds to go on the clock. Kyle Palmieri would make it 2-1 in favor of the Islanders with 3 minutes and 38 seconds to go on the clock. For Palmieri, that'd be his 21st goal of the year, assisted by Peugeot and Anders Lee. Islanders had a 2-1 lead after 40 minutes of play. Riley Gregg would get his 10th goal of the year, 6 minutes and 35 seconds in that period, tying the game up at 2, assisted by Stutzel and Zub. Brady Tkachuk would get a natural hat trick, getting his 2nd goal of the game. I apologize. Uh, Making 29th of the year of the season. Assist by Stutzel and Batherson. Bo Horvat would tie the game up late in that third period with just 38 seconds to go. For Horvat, that would be his 27th goal of the season from Dobson and Barzal. We would need overtime to settle a winner in this one, and with just under 30 seconds to go, 24 seconds to be exact, Brady Tkachuk would get a natural hat trick, his 30th of the year from Pinto and Stutzel. So the Ottawa Senators got a 4-3 victory over the Islanders. So with the victory, the Senators are sitting at 28, 33, and 4. And with the loss, the Islanders are 29, 22, and 15. But they still are on the cusp of making a postseason berth if they can get a few more wins under their belt. But that wildcard spot is up for grabs in the Eastern Conference. Alrighty, now we're off to the Metropolitan Division, where we have the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are in the same situation as the Islanders. They're on the outside looking in when it comes to the playoffs. As for the New York Rangers, the team that they played, they're sitting very comfortable in first place in that division. Let's take a look and see how this game unfolded. So in the first, Ludwig would get his third goal of the year from Jeff Carter and Noel Cherry, 2 minutes and 36 seconds into that opening period. Kako would tie the game up at 1, just over 30 seconds after that, getting his 9th of the season from Vesey and Wenberg. Adam Fox would give the Rangers a 2-1 lead, 3 minutes and 33 seconds into that period. For Fox, it would be his 12th goal of the year, assisted by Panarin and Trocheck. Brian Rust would tie the game up at 2 with just under 8 minutes to go, 7 minutes and 33 seconds to be exact. For Rust, that would be his 20th goal of the season from Crosby and Drew O'Connor. Panarin would give the Rangers a 3-2 lead with just over 4 minutes to go, 4 minutes and 28 seconds to be exact. For Panarin, that'd be his 37th goal of the season, assisted by Trocheck and Miller. So the Rangers carried a 3-2 lead heading into the second period. Lars Eller would tie the game up over halfway through that period, getting his 13th of the year from Bunting and Rust, a power play goal to note. Panarin would then get his second goal of the game, giving the Rangers a 4-3 lead, his 38th goal of the year, assisted by Kreider and Adam Fox. And that goal happened with 3 minutes and 33 seconds to go on the clock. Mika Zibanejad would strike a minute and 5 seconds after that with another power play goal for the Rangers, giving them a 5-3 lead. For Zibanejad, that'd be his 21st goal of the year, assisted by Kreider and Panarin. After 40 minutes of play, it was a high-scoring affair, 5-3 at that point in favor of the Rangers. Keandre Miller would double up the lead to 6-3 in the third period, getting his 8th of the year from Lafreniere and Panarin. That guy had a hell of a game, I'll say that. Making it 6-3 at that point, 4 minutes and 41 seconds into that period. Pustinen, if I'm pronouncing that name correctly, would cut the deficit to 6-4, 7 minutes and 23 seconds into the period. For Pustinen, that'd be his third goal of the year from Riley Smith and Lars Eller. Chris Kreider would add a late goal in the frame. For Kreider, that'd be his 33rd goal of the season, assisted by Keandre Miller. So 7-4 would be the final score in favor of the Rangers. So with the victory, they're still sitting comfortable in first place in the Metropolitan Division with a record of 44, 19, and 4. As for the Pittsburgh Penguins, they are sitting at 29, 28, and 9. Again, they're still trying to push for a late season surge to make the postseason. Alrighty, now we're off to Arizona. We have the Coyotes. They're playing against the New Jersey Devils. Alrighty, let's take a look and see how this game went. So the Devils, I'll put it this way, have had a very unsuccessful season, especially after they shocked the world last year and came in second place in the Metropolitan Division. Now they're X amount of points back of a playoff spot, so it's looking very bleak that the talent that this team had will not be able to compete for this year's Stanley Cup playoffs. But again, anything can happen, and maybe they can go on a 10-game winning streak and somehow sneak into the postseason. But first, they had to try to get a W in Arizona. So in the first, Mosser would kick things off for the Coyotes, 9 minutes and 37 seconds in that first period. For Mosser, that would be his 5th goal of the season from Jersey and Schmaltz. Genther would increase the lead to 2-0 with just under 6 minutes to go in the period. For Genther, that would be his 10th goal of the year from Schmaltz and Clayton Keller, a power play goal to note. Logan Cooley would increase the lead to 3-0 with 2.5 minutes to go in the period. For Cooley, that would be his 13th goal of the season, assisted by Krause. So the Coyotes had a 3-0 lead heading into the second period. DeSimone would finally get on the board for the New Jersey Devils 7 minutes and 1 second into that period. For DeSimone, that'd be his second goal of the season, assisted by Lazar and Jack Hughes. In the third period, which is a minute and a half remaining on the period, Clayton Keller would increase the lead to 4-1, getting his 27th goal of the season from Nick Schmaltz. So 4-1 would be the final score in favor of the Yotes. So with the victory, the Arizona Coyotes are sitting at 28, 35, and 5. And after the loss, the Devils are 32, 31, and 4. Alrighty, now we're off to the Battle of Florida. We had the Panthers playing host to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Alrighty, let's take a look and see how this game unfolded. And let's be honest, this could possibly be a first-round matchup as well, as the Lightning are sitting in a wildcard spot, and the Florida Panthers are in first place on that same division. So in the first, Steven Stamkos would open up the scoring just 20 seconds into the first period, getting his 26th of the season, assisted by Cherenek. EC Mott would increase the lead to 2-0 with just under 6 minutes to go in the period. Under 7 minutes to go in the period. 6 minutes and 39 seconds to be exact. For EC Mott, that'd be his 10th goal of the year, assisted by Nick Paul and Perry Biggs. So after 20 minutes of play, the Bolts had a 2-0 lead. In the second period, Radish would increase the lead to 3-0, just 3 minutes and 2 seconds in that period. For Radish, that'd be his 5th goal of the year, assisted by Duclair and Stamkos. Stamkos would then get his second goal of the game, a power play goal, 7 minutes into that period, getting his 27th goal of the year, assisted by Hedman and Kucherov. Matthew Tkachuk would finally get on the board for the Florida Panthers, getting a short-handed goal, 8 minutes and 23 seconds into that frame. For Tkachuk, that'd be his 22nd goal of the season, assisted by Mahura. Sam Reinhart would get a power play goal with about 12 minutes into that period. For Reinhart, that'd be his 47th goal of the season. I can easily see this guy getting 50. What a year this guy is having. So it'd be a power play goal, assisted by Bennett and Matthew Tkachuk, cutting the deficit in half. So after 40 minutes of play, the Bolts had a 4-2 lead. In the third period, Sam Reinhart would get his 48th goal of the season, his second of the night, with just under 4 minutes to go, 3 minutes and 52 seconds to be exact, cutting the deficit to 4-3. Unfortunately, it wouldn't last that long, as just about 2.5 minutes after that, Nikita Kucherov would increase the lead to 5-3, nodding his 40th goal of the season from Hagel and Steven Stamkos, giving the Lightning a 5-3 lead, and that's where we stand at the end of regulation. So with the victory, the Lightning are 36, 25, and 6, still sitting in first in that wildcard position. And despite the loss, the Panthers are 45, 19, and 4. I got to correct myself. They actually dropped to second place in that Atlantic Division, only because the team I'm about to review next took over first place, as the Boston Bruins were in action, and they played against the Philadelphia Flyers. So just an interesting thing I'll talk about before I get into the game, as James Van Riemsdyk celebrated his 1,000th game. He's obviously known for being more of a Flyer. He also has his little tenure with the Leafs as well. But congratulations on Van Riemsdyk for reaching that 1K milestone when it comes to games played in the NHL. So in the first period, Ryan Poehling would kick things off for the Flyers, getting his 9th of the season from Garnet Hathaway and Zamula, 4 minutes and 18 seconds into the frame. Morgan Geekie would tie the game up with just over 4 minutes remaining on the clock. For Geekie, that would be his 16th goal of the season from DeBrusk and Witherspoon. After 20 minutes of play, we were all tied up at 1. Farabee would give the Flyers a 2-1 lead with about 8 minutes remaining on the clock in the second. For Farabee, that will be his 20th of the season from Cam York and Owen Tippett. Charlie Coyle would tie the game up just under 5 minutes to go in the period, a power play goal. For Coyle, that would be his 22nd goal of the season from Marchand and Zaka. After 40 minutes of play, these two teams were knotted up at 2. In the third period, Charlie Coyle would get his second goal of the game, his 23rd of the season from Pasternak and Lindholm, just a minute and 8 seconds into that frame. Beecher would increase lead to 4-2, 3 minutes and 45 seconds into that same frame, getting his 6th of the season from Peak and Boakfist. DeBrusk would increase lead to 5-2, 4 minutes and 4 seconds into that frame, getting his 17th of the season from Brad Marchand and Hampus Lindholm. Nick Deslauriers would finally get his first goal of the season for the Philadelphia Flyers, cutting the deficit to 5-3, and that goal happened with 5 minutes and 48 seconds to go on the clock. With just over a minute after that, Morgan Frost would cut the deficit to 5-4. For Frost, that would be his 11th goal of the season from Tippett and Cam York. Danton Heinen would increase lead to 6-4 at that point, getting his 13th of the year from Travis Frederick, and that goal happened with just under 3 minutes to go on the clock. And with just over 2 minutes remaining, Farabee would cut the deficit to 6-5, getting his second goal of the night, his 21st of the season from Owen Tippett and Konechny. So a wild finish, to say the least, as a total of 11 goals were scored in that game. So with that victory, as I mentioned prior, the Boston Bruins are now sitting first place in that Atlantic Division. That division is going to be up for grabs all season. I'm not going to lie to you. Even though both teams have over 15 games remaining, I wouldn't be surprised if it came down to the last 2 or 3 games for one of these teams to actually get that division crowned. So for the Bruins, they actually got their 40th win of the season. They are 40, 14, and 15. And for the Flyers, despite the loss, they are still sitting third in the Metropolitan Division with a record of 34, 26, and 8. Alrighty, now we're off to Columbus, where we have the Blue Jackets, and they're taking on the San Jose Sharks. I'm sure this was a must-see game as two bottom feeder teams of each respective conference went at it. Let's take a look and see how this game went. So in the first, the captain Boone Jenner would kick things off for the Columbus Blue Jackets late in that period with 2 minutes and 19 seconds to go. For Jenner, that would be his 21st goal of the season from Gaudreau and Severson. In the second period, Nylander would increase the lead to 2-0 just 49 seconds into that frame, nodding his 7th goal of the year from Provorov and Werenski. Zetterlund would finally get the San Jose Sharks on the board with just over 8 minutes to go on the clock. For Zetterlund, that would be his 18th goal of the season from Ferraro and Granlund. Johnny Gaudreau would score with just under 5 minutes remaining on the clock, making it 3-1 at that point. For Gaudreau, that would be his 11th goal of the season from Nylander and Boone Jenner. So the Jackets had a 3-1 lead heading into the third period. Thrun would cut the deficit to 3-2 with just over 8 minutes to go on the clock. For Thrun, that would be his second goal of the season, assisted by LeBanc. And Nylander would then get his second goal of the game, getting his 8th goal of the season from Johnny Gaudreau with 1 minute and 5 seconds to go on the clock. So 4-2 would be the final score in favor of the Blue Jackets. So with the victory, Columbus is sitting at 23, 33, and 11. And after the loss, the San Jose Sharks are 16, 43, and 7. Alrighty. Now we're off to Toronto, where we have the Leafs, the host team, taking on the Carolina Hurricanes. Alrighty, let's take a look and see how this game went. Okay, so in the second period, there was no scoring in the first. John Tavares would kick things off for the Leafs, getting his 21st goal of the season, assisted by TJ Brody. And that would happen 4 minutes and 47 seconds in the frame. William Nylander would increase lead to 2-0, 6 minutes and 27 seconds into the frame. For Nylander, that would be his 36th goal of the season, assisted by Morgan Riley. Nate Robertson would increase the lead to 3-0, getting his 9th goal of the season from Tavares and Timothy Liljegren, and that goal happened with just under 8 minutes to go in the period, 7 minutes and 57 seconds to be exact. Martinook would finally get the Carolina Hurricanes on the board, getting his 12th goal of the season from Brett Burns and Jesper Fast, and that goal happened with 6 minutes and 33 seconds to go on the clock. Seth Jarvis would get a very late goal with just 3 seconds remaining on the clock, getting his 22nd goal of the season from Jake Gensel and Sebastian Aho, cutting the deficit to 3-2 after 40 minutes of play. David Kampf would increase lead to 4-2 in the third period, getting his 6th goal of the season from Morgan Riley, 2 minutes and 55 seconds in the frame. And this one looked like this game might be over. Sebastian Aho would cut the deficit to 4-3 with 1.5 minutes to go. For Aho, that would be his 26th goal of the season from Gensel and Orlov. And then Aho would strike yet again with just 7 seconds remaining on the clock, getting his second goal of the game, his 27th of the season from Brett Burns and Evgeny Kuznetsov. And that goal happened with 7 seconds to go. So 2 goals in 1 minute and 32 seconds. The game was all tied up. There was to be no scoring in the overtime period. It would take until a shootout to decide a winner, where the newest acquisition, Jake Gensel, would get the game-winning goal for the Carolina Hurricanes. So a wild finish, to say the least, in Toronto. So with the victory, the Carolina Hurricanes are sitting at 41, 20, and 6, still sitting second in that Metropolitan Division. And after the overtime loss, the Toronto Maple Leafs are 38, 19, and 9. They're still sitting third in the Atlantic Division. Alrighty, now we're off to Dallas, where we have the Stars, and they're taking on the Los Angeles Kings. So before I review this game, I just want to say I think it's going to be a very tight finish when it comes to the Central Division, as after I reviewed this game and the ones for Sunday, all these teams are tied when it comes to points. So it'll be very interesting to see who actually finishes on top and who finishes second and third, respectively. Alrighty, so in the first period, Harley would kick things off for the Stars, getting his 15th goal of the season, assisted by Faxa, and that goal happened 2 minutes and 28 seconds into the frame. Craig Smith would increase lead to 2-0, 8 minutes and 49 seconds into that same frame, getting his 9th of the season, assisted by Heiskanen and Harley. Wyatt Johnston would increase lead to 3-0 with 4 minutes and 45 seconds to go. For Johnston, that would be his 26th goal of the year, assisted by Sutter and Stan Coben. So after 20 minutes of play, the Stars had a 3-0 lead. In the second period, Jamie Benn would increase lead to 4-0, getting his 12th goal of the year, assist by Pavelski and Jason Robertson. And that was a power play goal as well. So 4-0 after 40 minutes in favor of the Stars. Kevin Fiala would finally get the Kings on the board in the third period, getting his 22nd goal of the year, assisted by Pierre-Luc Dubois. And that was 1 minute and 11 seconds into the third period. Unfortunately for the Kings, they were not able to mount a comeback, so 4-1 is where we stand at the end of regulation. So with the victory, the Stars are sitting at 41, 19, and 9. And with the Kings, they're 34, 22, and 11. They're still holding on to third place in that Pacific Division. Alrighty, now we're off to St. Louis, where we have the Blues. And they are playing host to the Minnesota Wild. Alright, let's take a look and see how this game unfolded. So there's no scoring in the first. Kyrou would open up the scoring in the second period, his 21st goal of the season, assisted by Neighbors and Rob Thomas, a power play goal to note. In the third period, Braden Shen would give the Blues a 2-0 lead with 27 seconds into that period. For Shen, that would be his 14th goal of the season from Kyrou and Leddy. Rosie, I believe is how you pronounce his name, would cut the deficit in half to 2-1, getting his 18th of the season from Kaprizov, and that goal happened just 43 seconds after Shen scored. Kaprizov would score with about 4 minutes remaining on the clock, his 35th goal of the year, assisted by Zuccarello and Zach Bogosian. We would need extra time to settle this matchup. There was no scoring in the overtime. We had to go to a shootout where Kyrou would get the game-winning goal and give the Blues a 3-2 victory. So with the win, St. Louis is sitting at 35, 29, and 3. And with the loss, the Minnesota Wild are 33, 27, and 8. The Blues are pushing for a playoff spot. They're only a few points behind Vegas for that final wildcard spot. So don't count them out just yet. As for the Minnesota Wild, they are behind St. Louis in the standings. So again, if the Wild were to make a miraculous comeback and get into the postseason, they would need a lot of wins in a very short time frame. Alrighty, I believe I have 3 more games to review. The first one of the 3 happened in Edmonton, as we have the Oilers, and they're playing against the Colorado Avalanche. So, in the second period, there was no scoring in the first. Walker would get his 7th goal of the season from Lehkonen and Jack Johnson, and that goal happened with 9 minutes and 21 seconds to go on the clock. After 40 minutes of play, it was 1-0 in favor of the Avalanche. Warren Foegele would tie the game up at 1, getting his 16th of the season from Evan Bouchard, 5 minutes and 46 seconds into the frame. Sam Carrick would get his first goal as a member of the Edmonton Oilers. For Carrick, that'd be his 9th of the season from Janmark and Corey Perry, and that goal happened with 8 minutes and 12 seconds on the clock. Walker would get his 2nd goal of the game, his 8th of the season from Middlestad and Jonathan Drouin, and that goal happened with 5 minutes and 40 seconds to go on the clock. This game would need extra frame to settle this matchup, and just what looked like this game might be heading into a shootout. Terry Lehkonen would score with less than a second to go. For Lehkonen, that would be his 12th of the season from McKinnon and Cale Makar. So an absolute heartbreaker if you're an Oilers fan to lose in the final second of the overtime frame. So with the victory, Colorado is sitting at 43, 20, and 5. As for the Oilers, with 40, 21, and 4. So nothing really to be ashamed about, just a very tough way to lose a game. As of now, both these teams are currently sitting second in their respective divisions. Alrighty, off to Seattle. We have the Kraken, and they're playing host to the Nashville Predators. Alrighty, let's take a look and see how this matchup unfolded. So in the first period, Novak would kick things off for the Predators with just under 5 minutes to go, 4 minutes and 24 seconds to be exact. Assist by McDonough and Janikowski. There was no scoring in the second. We have to jump ahead to the third period where Burakovsky would tie the game up with a power play goal for Burakovsky to be his 4th of the season, assisted by Evans and Bjorkstrad. Ryan Josi would get a power play goal for the Nashville Predators roughly 4 minutes into that frame. For Josi, that'd be his 16th goal of the season from Forsberg and Nyquist. Josi would strike yet again over 9 minutes into that period, getting his 2nd of the game, his 17th of the season from McDonough and Janikowski. And then Philip Forsberg would get an empty netter, making it 4-1 at that point. For Forsberg, that'd be his 35th goal of the season, and that will happen with 1 minute and 20 seconds to go on the clock. So the Predators, are who are getting red hot at the right time, are still sitting first in that wildcard position with a record of 39, 25, and 4. And as for the Seattle Kraken, 28, 26, and 12. And it's looking very bleak that they'll be able to make their 2nd consecutive postseason appearance. Alrighty, the last game from a very busy Saturday night took place in Vancouver, where we had the Canucks playing against the Washington Capitals. Alrighty, let's take a look and see how this game went. So the first, Brock Besser would kick things off just 1 minute 11 seconds in the frame, getting his 36th goal of the season from Quinn Hughes and Mikheyev. In the second period, Tom Wilson would tie the game up roughly 6 minutes into that period. For Wilson, that would be his 16th of the season, assisted by Mirin Chinchenko and John Carlson. Alex Ovechkin would break the tie 7 minutes and 54 seconds in the frame. For Ovechkin, that would be his 19th of the season from Michael and Alexiev. There was no scoring the rest of the period. As a matter of fact, there's no scoring the rest of the game. So 2-1 would be the final score in favor of the Washington Capitals, who are trying to make a late season push for a playoff position. After the victory, they're 32, 25, and 9. And despite the loss, the Canucks are still sitting first in that Pacific Division with a record of 42, 18, and 8. Alrighty, that takes care of all the action from Saturday of the NHL. As always, if you're new to this channel and you like this type of content, please feel free to hit the sub button. I'd be very grateful and very appreciative. Until next time, take care.